Welcome to the Texas Truck Channel. I'm Craig, and behind me we have the 2022 Chevy Tahoe Premier. All new in 2021, this is the 5th generation Tahoe based on the GMT T1 platform. First debuted on the 19 Silverado, Tahoe catches up to the Silverado and surpasses it with all new interior. Silverado will catch up with that later this year, but maybe the biggest deal is the introduction of the independent rear suspension. No more leafs out back. Sorry 20th century, we're moving on. Now what's new in 22? The 6.2, which is in this puppy, expands across all trim levels. That's a good thing. Google is built into the infotainment. No need to pair a phone and use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay if you don't want to. There are now up to 13 camera views. That's right, 13. Oh, and a buckle to drive feature. Yes, it's 2022 and we still have to convince people it's a good idea to buckle up. Go figure. Exterior-wise, it's a good evolution of the 4th generation Tahoe, and it joins the family theme found in the Silverado. It's a clean, inoffensive design that is easily recognizable while also looking modern. Your neighbors will be sure to notice you have the newest one, but won't be too upset they still have their old Tahoe. My favorite detail though might be the quad tips found on this Premier model. Sure, it might be a little silly, but the teenage boy stuck inside of me loves it, because you know what else has quad tips? Exotic sports cars. Enough for me, let's move on to the interior.
Time for interior, and man is this a beautiful space. The shade of brown in here is perfect. It's light enough to look good and dark enough to hide most stains. And it looks and it feels special. This is all new for 22, you did not have this in 21, and the Silverado still doesn't have it yet. Now, let's talk infotainment. This has GM's Infotainment 3 with integrated Google Assist, and that means that it'll tell you the weather, it'll tell you the news, it'll tell you the traffic, it'll tell you how you're feeling that day probably, and it'll also remind you to get that loaf of bread that your spouse has been bugging you about all day. Now, with that all out of the way, this is just a nice place to spend time. It has comfy, it has heated and cooled seats, and it's extremely quiet on the highway. Don't forget the rear entertainment for your kids to keep them busy while you're just knocking down miles. Now, with that all out of the way, let's head to the shop and check out the nuts and bolts. 6.2 liters. Introduced in 2019, this is the Ecotec 3 L87 V8. It's 6.2 liters or 378 cubic inches of American muscle. This belongs to the Gen 5 V8 from General Motors. It's a small block pushrod V8, but it uses modern tech like direct injection, variable valve timing, oil jet piston cooling, and a 2-stage oil pump. Like every small block Chevy before it, it still uses a 4.4 inch bore center. But the block is aluminum and uses 6-bolt main caps to keep it all together when you decide your Tahoe would be even sweeter with 100 shot of nitrous on it. The direct injection high pressure fuel pump is cam driven, it's mechanical. It keeps 2,000 PSI on tap, and it makes 11-to-1 compression totally safe in every condition. All of this adds up to 420 horsepower and a massive 460 foot-pounds of torque. With numbers like that, turbos need not apply thanks to this displacement. With all that covered, let's get in the wheel well and see what really makes the thing work.
Alrighty, tires show intention. And what we got here is a 275/60 riding on 20-inch wheels. It's a Continental. They're getting some help from the Germans here. Cross Contact LX20 Eco Plus, it says somewhere on here. That means they're trying to get every little bit of fuel economy they can get. And if you look at the tire tread here, there's no off-road intentions. That is highway only. They're looking for comfort. And that's what this is. It's a Premier. It's not the Z71. Speaking of comfort, IRS on all trims, that's the news here with these Tahoes. Along with that, there's a dizzying array of options available, from standard coil springs to magnetic ride control to four-corner air suspension with magnetic ride control. You can get it without it. Why is IRS so important? It keeps that rear end from skipping or hopping sideways when you're hitting a harsh bump through a corner. It's less trucky. This means much better ride comfort, which again is what this is all about. Maybe more importantly, it also lowers the rear load floor. You can see the way it's neatly packaged here. Nothing is inside the frame. With that, there are now 9.9 additional inches of a third row legroom, 20.9 cubic feet more cargo volume behind the second row, and 10.2 cubic feet more behind the third row. Gone is the old torsion beam of General Motors and you'll be quite pleased to see a modern double wishbone design up front and multi-link IRS out back. Out back, we don't see a typical 5-link or multi-link setup, rather a control blade suspension, which is what this bad boy here is. GM's calling it a 4-link. Again, it all translates to more comfort and more room. We like both, and we are both happy to report you can tell that it was worth it. Good job, General Motors. Now, about all the suspension options behind us, here in the Premier trim, we have the Magnetic Ride Control, or MRC. What is Magnetic Ride Control? Great question. Basically, it's magic. Once you drive a car with MRC, you'll immediately ask yourself how you ever survived without it. In all seriousness, it really is that great, and it's made up of metal particles in the shock fluid that react based on various sensors. Using sensors in each wheel, road conditions are checked 1,000 times per second. Using that info, it can then adjust the suspension up to 200 times per second, all adding up to even more comfort. That's enough in here. Let's get it out on the road, and let's see how it actually drives. All right, Brian, we've cleaned the tires. You've actually figured out how to actually get all the settings right.
Forget that part.
So it's time to launch it and see what this puppy does on the road. Hit it. Whoa! Okay. Initial surge, continued surge.
50 and 60.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
And
ooh, baby.
Well, and that is why we like the 16. Right, Brian, good launch. The ride and drive, the mag ride suspension, there's a bunch of suspension options with the Tahoes these days. This one's just a mag ride, not the air suspension though.
It's steel sprung, yeah.
Yep. How do you feel? What do you think?
I feel like look, we've driven some air ride stuff recently, and we've driven this with air ride in both the Escalade and the Yukon Denali. This does not ride as well as the air ride, and it's not going to.
Right.
I do feel like it rides a little choppier in like neighborhood bumps than I thought it would, no matter what mode it's in. Although off-road mode seems to double as comfort mode, because it still has mag ride shocks, and that makes all the difference in the world. I like it. I think it's a happy medium.
I think it is too. I found it to be quite comfortable in most applications, in most situations we're in. But you're right. I felt it a little choppy in certain spots. Not that it's a bad ride at all.
No. Because on the highway, I think it's an absolute champion.
In fact, overall, by and large, I think mag ride, if you can get it on any vehicle, you should get it because it's just.
If it's a checkbox you can manage, check it.
Because the real magic is a 6,000-pound behemoth like this shouldn't be able to take turns like it does.
Exactly.
And that's really surprising.
Let's get the powertrain.
Yes.
The 6.2 is just. It's really good. It's really, we've beat this to death in the shop already. I love its application. We're getting 10 miles a gallon on this current drive, and it's worth every penny because the sound is just, it's phenomenal.
And that's why you get 10.
And the 10 speed, now I have to admit, we've caught it out a few times at parking lot speeds. So that 1 to 2 shift, it can't decide sometimes.
Yeah.
It's the only GM product we've had with a 10-speed that's done that yet.
That's true, to be fair.
Right, and it's very minor. I'm being picky.
Right.
That's my only criticism. Beyond that, the 10-speed knows what it's doing, it knows where it needs to be, and it makes the best use of the power. One other criticism, and this is actually a compliment. I have caught myself looking for paddles to downshift on the wheel. And I had the same problem in the pickup the other day too. It has a button for low, and you can select a shift that way.
Right.
That works, but this is engaging enough with a mag ride. I want to drop a gear when I hook it into a corner, and I just can't do that.
It's sporty enough you want to match a gear when you're coming into a turn.
Never thought I would say that about this.
You can't do that because
but that's down to the mag ride. Honestly, it is.
Right. So that says a lot about how it rides and drives. That's a lot. Okay, you mentioned the buttons on the shifting. What do you think about the push button drive?
I love it, man.
Me too. I think it's a great way to do it. It's not too cute like a rotary dial. I think there's a lot of people don't like that. It's different enough. It's not a rotary item.
Right.
But it's not too stupid either.
I've had people comment on how this looks better than the rotary dial that others do.
And it still saves space.
It's out of the way, just like a column shift would be.
You're right.
Even though a column shift is probably still the ultimate choice. That's been solved a long time ago. Chrysler did this in the 60s, and it's still cool today.
And they've perfected it.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, infotainment. Built-in Google, you like.
I do.
But we had some quirks overall with the infotainment. What
quirks did you have with it? Because, let me explain it real quick. Google infotainment is now here. It means that Google Assist is involved. It means when you sync your phone to it and log into your Google account.
Right.
Now your calendars are synced, so if you had whatever appointments you had come up, in the morning, the voice recognition is really good.
Yes,
when I've got a crackly voice, because I'm still a wee boy in the morning days, I'm still drinking my coffee, I can say, tell me the news or the weather or whatever, and it knows exactly what I'm saying, even though I mumble. Very good work.
Yes.
So what were your issues with it?
So I had some issues with, I was taking a phone call and I needed to adjust the volume.
Okay.
And it kept trying to adjust the navigation volume. I could not figure out a way to go back and adjust the audio volume. And then I got off my phone call. I was like, well, maybe it'll work now. I couldn't adjust the radio volume. I literally had to get out, turn the truck off, restart it, and then it worked again.
Okay.
And then there was another issue later. Later on the way here today to do this shoot, I was listening to a song, minding my own business. I didn't hit any buttons. It skipped the track without me doing anything and changed my screen in the middle to something else that I didn't want.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on there, but interesting.
So would you call it a hiccup or a problem?
Definitely a hiccup. I'm sure
Okay.
it's an isolated case, but didn't have that with the old system.
Keep in mind, this is like months old, if that.
It's true.
These aren't really on dealer lots yet. They're not by and large, so it does have over-the-air updates. If that is a problem, it'll get fixed.
Sure, it'll get fixed.
Yeah. I think it's time for Hipster Score.
Oh, yes.
And before you lead us into that, Craig, I want to explain to some people that seem to think this is an overall vehicle score. So if you're new to the channel or you haven't seen this before, this is simply our rating of what we think a hipster will value the vehicle at. And it's 1 to 10. 0 is Ford Raptor, 10 Toyota Prius.
Right. All right, Brian. So here we go. Now, this is a Tahoe Premier, $75,000 four-wheel drive gas guzzler.
With a 6.2.
Yes.
Yep.
3, 2, 1, 3.
4.
4.
What'd you get 3?
3 because of the things I just said leading into it. I thought I set you up quite well for that. You
Okay.
clearly weren't catching on.
Okay. Can I defend myself?
You can attempt, but go ahead.
This to me is on par with the diesel truck we drove last week that was also a 4.
$10,000 less.
Well, I get that, but to a hipster, they're going to go, I'm taking a point away because it's not diesel, although that's an option with this vehicle. This one's the V8. But they're going to give it points because its sole purpose in life is to move families around. And it's not some 2-seater, 4-seater, whatever. It's meant to haul a bunch of people in one vehicle.
Problem is, most hipsters know there are other SUVs that exist out there for $30,000 less.
Yeah, there's that.
So, in fact, I can show you a text thread between the two of us to prove you're wrong. But we'll leave.
All right, viewers, we're about to do the hill test real quick, and we have never taken this vehicle up or one like it. So, what mode are we going to be in today, Craig?
Ryan, we're going to be in off-road mode, so we'll move the dial over to off-road mode. Should help the throttle inputs and the suspension, a little softer. And then we're going to try auto today. Let's just see what auto does.
So on the transfer case, auto.
On the transfer case, we'll do auto, not for high, not for low, which auto will be for high. So as it needs it, it'll kick in four-wheel drive.
Okay, let's see how it works. Got a little brush there. Remember, it's an auto, not for high. So the front clutch will have to engage. Now, the approaching will make it. It's close. Ooh. That was the front diff engaging. Oof. Little control arm there, but it made it. Okay, so I saw it engage the clutch to the front end.
Yes, well, for a low or for a high, I think would have helped her versus it trying to decide what to do.
Yeah.
Because it was a little tricky as I was trying to modulate the throttle there. I did put it in first gear only so it would stay in first gear.
Okay.
But it was really struggling. You could feel it. It was trying to figure out how to, should it engage or not.
Right.
And so that definitely would have made a difference.
That's interesting because we did the diesel Silverado recently, and I can definitely tell you that the diesel just above idle has a little more torque than this does.
Right, right.
So, interesting. All right, let's go to the shop.
Let's go. All right, Brian, we've tested this 2022 Chevy Tahoe Premier.
Yes, we have.
Not LTZ, quite thoroughly.
Yep.
And we've decided it's the American Land Cruiser, if you will. You say Americruiser.
Americruiser. First of all, you've said that. Like, it's like a Land Cruiser for America, but I would say the other way around. But that's fine.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the point is, who's this car for?
Oh, this is easy. It's for realtors. Because it has room for your signs.
Perfect.
And it's very nice while not looking too expensive, so people know your commissions are that high.
Good point. I would also say if you're running for political office and you need signs.
That's true.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And also say maybe working for the cartel.
Definitely. Plenty of room for things.
If you're a cop, get in the cartel. Works as well.
Even better, yeah.
But no, in all seriousness, Brian, in this segment, you've got the main competitors of the Expedition, let's be honest, and the Jeep Wagoneer just came out.
And it was one of those, the Infiniti QX, whatever,
QX80,
9080.
yeah.
And then you've also got the Armada, which I don't think is...
you get the Platinum. It's about the same price.
Okay, about the same price.
Yeah.
The Wagoneer, though, I mean, we had that recently at an event, and I want to bring up one thing that makes me think the Wagoneer is a little bit more compelling.
Okay.
And it's for a specific task.
Okay.
And that's for ride quality. You can get air ride on this, but you can get air ride on the Wagoneer with 18-inch wheels, and it rides unbelievably good.
It does ride really good. We've driven it recently, and it rode wonderful.
Right, and its air ride doesn't go like the Yukon does.
To me, that would be very compelling. A very compelling option would be the Z71 Tahoe package with the electronic LSD, or that Wagoneer with its off-road capability.
And it's locking diff,
two really compelling things, but I'll tell you why you're wrong on that. Because this is the Texas Truck Channel.
That's right.
And you know where this is made?
Arlington, Texas.
Arlington, Texas. That is right.
There's points for that, for sure.
And so that makes it a winner in our books. Thank you for watching. Brian, you're supposed to go somewhere and do all that.
Sure.
And,
if you like what you've seen today, be sure to like this so you see more of it. Subscribe so you also see more of it.
like I said, don't like it.
Oh, don't subscribe. That's right.
Don't subscribe.
No, like it, don't subscribe. Like it, saves a puppy.
Save a puppy.
And hit the bell so you don't miss a thing.
Perfect.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Oh.
Okay. Good catch.
Aim for my knee. Try to hit my knee with it. Perfect.
Okay, you're right. You've done this before.
All right.